dark. Wearing an apron, busy in her kitchen, she paused briefly and stepped to the doorway of the living room. With obvious impatience, she stood holding a cup towel in the hand propped upon her hip, showing little interest in meeting the 17-year-old girl who was going to Lubbock with Ruth's oldest son and other friends for an evening at the South Plains Fair. After briefly acknowledging me, she returned to her kitchen. I did not expect I would see Ruth Fielding again, but I did not know that her son and I would marry. Because we did, I had many years to observe Ruth and to learn about her and from her. Having grown up on a farm in Oklahoma, Ruth often said that she was her daddy's boy. She spoke about her daddy with great fondness and admiration. In 1918, when Ruth was 10 years old, there was an influenza pandemic. Her mother and all her siblings were sick, along with almost everyone in their community. Ruth and her daddy, having amazingly escaped the flu, would rise early each morning, take care of their own livestock, prepare breakfast for their family, and then go through the community doing the same thing for other families who were too ill to do their work. Ruth loved animals and people. She was accustomed to hard work. She viewed life realistically, and often life was immensely hard for Ruth. At age 17, Ruth married a farmer, Bill, 7 years her senior. 11 years later, they moved to a farm in Texas, where Ruth continued to work in the fields with her husband. She also gave birth to children, raised those children to be good Christian people, sewed the clothing for herself and her children, prepared their meals, often feeding hired hands as well, and kept an immaculately clean home, even during the years when she had no running water in the house. In 1957, Ruth suffered heartbreaking loss. When Ruth was 49 years old, her husband was diagnosed with cancer. Her beloved Bill Fielding would rapidly decline. Ruth cared for him at home until his condition worsened to such an extent that hospitalization was required. By November, he was admitted to the hospital in Muleshoe, Texas, 40 miles from their home. Ruth continued faithfully at his side. On Sunday afternoon of November 17, 1957, their daughter, Billy Ruth, her husband, their infant son, and Bill and Ruth's 12-year-old son, Sherman, were driving to Muleshoe to visit Bill and Ruth at the hospital. A driver under the influence of alcohol hit their car head-on, killing Billy Ruth and her baby boy instantly. Billy's husband suffered serious injuries. Sherman, critically injured, was taken by ambulance to Muleshoe to the same hospital where Bill and Ruth were. The boy's injuries were so severe that his parents were told that even if he survived, he would never recover because they were certain he had severe brain damage. He was unconscious for hours. Their older son sat with his little brother all night. Next morning, the 12-year-old boy awakened and asked his brother, "Why aren't you at work?" With his extensive injuries, the boy would have years of surgeries and recovery. Ruth would be his devoted nurse. 4 weeks later, on December 14, 1957, the beloved husband and father died. Within a period of a few weeks, Ruth's husband, daughter, and grandbaby had died, and her youngest son had suffered life-changing injuries. This was 4 years before I met the family. I often wondered how Ruth survived it all. Ruth was a woman of strong faith, focused on caring for her young son as he recovered from his injuries. Following the death of her husband, Ruth moved from the farm into the town of Littlefield, where she had purchased a small house. She worked at various jobs to make a living. She sewed for the public, provided child care, and worked as a cook at a drive-in hamburger place. Ruth simply greeted each day as though she might have to wrestle it to the ground because she had to do that many times. Ruth was a marvelous cook. It was truly a pleasure to be in her kitchen and sit at her table, to smell the aroma of the foods cooking and then enjoy the taste of it all. As Ruth prepared her meals, in her interesting assortment of pots and pans, it could get a bit noisy with the clanging of those pots and pans, but the result was always a feast. Ruth wasn't fancy, she was practical. My mother was artistic and created cakes and pies with meringue on her pies and icing cakes swirled and peaked in such a way that they were lovely to look at as well as delectable to the taste. Because such lovely pastries and cakes had been routine in my life, I assumed everyone created similar appearing desserts. Ruth didn't have time for that foolishness. She prepared food to be enjoyed, and it always was. At the age of 60, Ruth made a surprising announcement. She decided to sell her home and move to Dallas, Texas, where she planned to rent an apartment and find a job. And she did exactly that. Though she had always lived on farms and in small towns, Ruth quickly located an apartment in Dallas, learned the city bus route, and went job hunting. What kind of job could this 60-year-old woman with an 8th grade education from a farming and small town background possibly find in the big city of Dallas? Ruth quickly secured a position as dietitian for a large children's hospital. Soon she found a job that suited her better at a specialized cancer hospital where she was instructed to cook whatever the patients desired whenever they asked for it. She had days off, but she lived most of the time at the hospital, and she delighted in preparing any dish a patient requested any time of the day or night. Ruth saved her money to put down a down payment on a nice little house in a good neighborhood. At the age of 72, she asked what we would think if she retired and started drawing her Social Security. She had done hard work almost every day of her life. She seemed apologetic that she was considering retiring. We told her we would love it if she would retire and enjoy life. Ruth lived her retirement years enjoying her family and her neighbors. One day, when Ruth was about 80 years old, we had called a few times during the day, but she had not answered. We initially assumed she had gone to the grocery store, or perhaps was visiting at a neighbor's home. After not answering her phone for several hours, we became concerned, so we called her neighbor to inquire if she had seen Ruth that day. The neighbor said, "I'm watching her through my kitchen window now. Your mother is sitting in her pecan tree pruning branches." Because of the life she lived and the hardship she experienced, Ruth was tough. When her health abruptly began to fail at age 81, her loving son, my husband, looked after his mother. With my help, we provided for her every need: her meals, her baths, dressing her, putting her to bed, and waking her. It is sadness beyond description to witness an aging parent nearing the end of life on this earth. Until her final weeks, Ruth still had her wonderful sense of humor, which helped us through many difficult days. Not once during those months did she utter a complaining word. A rather unattractive habit that Ruth possessed was dipping snuff. I consider that to be a nasty habit. I learned she had dipped snuff most of her life. She did not drink or smoke or much anything else, really, just for herself. Dipping snuff was something she enjoyed, and she wasn't concerned whether I liked it or not. When Ruth's health declined, I purchased snuff for Ruth. I could barely believe I was entering a store to purchase snuff. Ruth had no other place. In fact, it got to where, to deviate just a little bit right here, it got to where when I walked in the store, they knew what I was there for, and they went nuts. She had no other pleasure in life, so I made sure she had her snuff. Life circumstances helped mold Ruth into a strong woman. Truth be known, I suspect she did not have high regard for me when I came along and married her oldest son. I was a pampered city girl, had never worked or done anything of any substance. But her affection for me grew, and she loved me anyway. I'm grateful for having been privileged to observe and learn from Ruth Bilden. I have known many people in my lifetime, hundreds, maybe thousands, but no one has made more of an indelible imprint in my life than my mother-in-law, Ruth. Thank you.